right, welcome out to Drake's Dungeon. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I want to say 4 or 5 months. So that means we have a lot of stuff to cover, because not only do we want to talk about some of the things that we've done the last few months for the game, but we also want to talk about what's on the horizon. We have Command Center 21 coming out. We got a whole bunch of awesome things that we haven't told you yet. So I'm going to save that for when our wonderful guests, Young Russell, our head of design, and FriendlyFixer, the head of the game, are here to talk about. So Young Russell, FriendlyFixer, welcome to the dungeon.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Don't mind the smell. It is a dungeon, so we got to keep it a little authentic. There are a few dead bodies here and there that we will eventually have taken care of, but I want to jump right into stuff, because I think we have like 6 major topics that we want to talk about, and each one of those topics has things inside those topics. And we got a lot of stuff to just kind of cover. So obviously, this is the Command Center 21 podcast episode. So we're going to talk about Command Center 21 first. We're not going to bury that at all. So what new features can we expect with Command Center 21? And one question that I get all the time is, what's the situation with walls? Are we getting new types of walls? Are we getting new levels of walls? So I need all those answers. Go.
Thanks. FriendlyFixer here. I can answer some of those. We are focusing on what we were calling high value features for this one. We had a lot of ideas from the design team that we wanted to implement, but being a bit of a smaller team, we had to choose where we can get things done. And in this case, we chose a playable map size increase, base power rebalancing, and a platform and structure research mechanic.
Okay, those are 3, like you said, very big things. So I know we're going to talk a little bit about the rebalancing base power and the expanding base size a little bit more with Young Russell, but why? This is not just new levels. This is completely remaking a lot of the game mechanics, and that's not just a simple thing to do. Why are we considering these high value?
Because they do change the game. We've identified a few places where the game has gotten a little bit stale, where it has become easy for players to just say, this is the way you do it. And that doesn't provide interesting gameplay. We want choice. We want things to matter a little bit. So by increasing the map size, we provide more choice in physical location. By changing the way base power is done, we provide more choice in the way players both build bases and approach bases. And this isn't just for player bases. It does also have an effect on rogue faction bases as well. Mm-hmm. The last one, the platform structure research, is actually a way of trying to simplify some mechanics in the game that have gotten a little out of hand related to Gen 2 buildings and how you research and create those.
Right. All right. Well, then what about walls? I mean, we teased.
Yeah, walls are a
contentious
one. Internally, we love the walls. We wanted, this goes back years. I was in charge of trying to create super walls, which some may remember. And that didn't happen for a variety of reasons. And then we came up with a new way of just cribbing Battle Pirates homework and making 2x2 walls. And that one almost made this release, but unfortunately hit the cutting room floor. So we would really like to revisit larger walls in the future, but it didn't make it for this Command Center release.
Mm-hmm. But we are getting, at least so folks that are feeling like walls maybe are a little underpowered, we do have a new level of walls that are going to be coming out. So they will be stronger,
Yes.
But yeah, I know that anytime a Command Center comes around, there's always the questions of are we getting the super walls? Are we getting those? And so I definitely needed to address it. So no super walls, but we are going to have a new level for walls, along with additional health that just comes with, Command Center upgrades in general. We usually up the health on buildings and things like that. So there will be some new life into the walls with this update in some form. All right. So Young Russell, we have 2 of the major things that Fixer just talked about: rebalancing base power and expanding the base size. Why don't you kick it off with the rebalance of power? Because I know that's a big thing that you're working on. So what's this going to look like from a player perspective?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So this is going to be a pretty major overhaul on how base power works. Now, when I refer to base power, I'm not referring to the power of turrets and units. I'm referring to the literal power, the electricity that is required to power your defenses. Our current system is fairly simple. You need to produce via your power plants more power than you use with your buildings. And honestly, in the past few years, we've created, so many levels of power plants that it's never really an issue accomplishing that. The new system expands on that idea and it refines it a bit. So basically, we've rebalanced the power costs and outputs of every building that we have. Sometimes we've taken away power costs, sometimes we've added it, and we've basically, we've totally gone from scratch on that. We've rebalanced the power plants so that the choice of which one you have actually means a little bit more. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is we've added a new screen, the building power management screen. So you'll be able to overpower or underpower certain base defense elements. So you can either have a stronger defense, which will cost you more power, or a bit of a weaker defense, but you'll save on power. So you can customize where your power is going. If you want to overdrive certain elements and underdrive certain elements, you can do that. The idea is that we want to allow players to take risks by using more dangerous power plants, but getting more defense power in exchange. We've also changed the effects of being underpowered. So instead of it just being a simple, you're either over or underpowered, and then if you're underpowered, the percent of damage your turrets do is decreased, whatever. We now have a 4-stage system that is very easy to understand. If you can see what stage things are at, and go from there. Each stage has its own list of debuffs that it applies to your base. So it should be a lot of fun learning, and it should be a lot of fun playing around with and customizing things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and having a really, really good chance to make your base defense feel very personalized.
Cool. That is kind of cool. Yeah, I like the whole system management too, because I know that a lot of people try to make their base a little stronger by having less buildings and things like that, and this kind of gives that chance to play around a little bit with that management. Yeah. Fixer, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, for sure. As Russell said, the system was simple. That was its defining trait. And in some ways, that was good. But you either had enough power or you don't. And that simplicity kind of made it nearly meaningless. Buildings consumed roughly the same amount of power. So if you're blasting through a base and destroying buildings as you go towards the power plants, you're reducing the power requirements of the base as you go. So by the time you got to the power plant to destroy it, the power plant was already superfluous. It just produced extra power.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, the mechanic was incredibly simple. It just reduced the firing speed of all of the turrets. And that, yes, it does reduce the amount of damage coming out, but that's, again, really simple. We wanted something that was more nuanced, that had a way to show power was consumed in different ways by different buildings and by the choices you made about those buildings. And it really ultimately leads us with a much more interesting mechanic for when power is not available, for when you have a power failure.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see a lot of is, I see a lot of bases now where power plants are kind of in a really protected area, and I think this is going to have a lot of people maybe spreading out their power plants more. So if they lose one, they're not completely handicapped because of this new tier system of the debuffs. So like having it all next to each other might be kind of a bad thing. It could be a bad thing now. So yeah, a bit more spread out with some of the strategies, along with that bigger base footprint that we're going to be talking about in a second. I think it's going to add a lot more options, a lot more fun to play around with.
Yeah, one thing that keeps coming back for me is the meaning of the word meta, which is most effective tactic available. And right now with power, there is only one meta. Have power plants, put them in one spot, and ignore and forget about them. And with this, it means that as new units are released, as new strategies are developed by players, the meta will shift. It may be, as you say, the best plan is to spread power plants out, choose the highest damage mechanic in your power configuration, and go from there. Or it might be that actually is suboptimal. And we're excited to find out how that goes.
Nice. Well, let's talk about the base expansion then. So we're expanding bases. This has actually been a request that I've seen from players for a long time, that they want to have a bigger footprint. So, Russell, what do you got? What do you got for me here on the base expansions?
So this is one that I'm really excited about. Way back when War Commander came out, our units were absolutely tiny, and so our battles felt massive in scale, very spacious. Lots of room to maneuver. Over the years, as I'm sure players have noticed, our units have gotten quite a lot larger. Maybe there's too much thorium in the water, and our battles have started to feel pretty cramped. Clown car-ish almost. So we're expanding the battle map size, or at least having some maps be bigger. Player bases will have this bigger map size, and so they'll have more. Attackers will have more room for tactics and flanking. Defenders will have a bit more room to place their defenses, and then eventually we hope to roll this out to rogue faction bases as well, so we can tell a more interesting story via level design. We can have bigger scale battles on some of the bigger maps, and there's a lot of things that we can do that we are going to be planning out pretty soon, so I'm very excited about it.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I'm completely excited for this one. The defending players get a base expansion, which is always great. Attacking players get the ability to have more space to deploy without being immediately under fire, both in player bases and then eventually in the rogue faction bases. But part of the reason I'm excited for this is it's resolving a technical issue that we've been struggling with the whole time. And that's that it's not simply just doubling the map size. If you increase the size in both dimensions, you quadruple the amount of data that's involved. And that's not just downloading for players, like downloading the image size of that big background, but also all of the data that the battle servers have to manage. And we didn't go with a full doubling of everything, but I am quite happy with where we've landed in terms of providing a lot more space for players and for rogue faction design, as well as keeping it within a reasonable limit for the battle servers.
Nice. And I think that this is going to along with that power discussion too, it's going to change the way people just plan out their bases. They're like you were kind of saying with the powers, there was one meta, and now there can be multiples, and that this adds another layer to that as well. It's just we're going to see new original base designs. The tried and true methods that people have been using might not always be the best thing anymore, or you might be able to find some new creative things that work better when you have more of that space to play with. So yeah, this is gonna be cool. I'm very excited about that. I do want to touch on one thing that I realized we didn't talk about before this, but we're talking about the changing up of the turrets and how the structure is going to go, but that also includes a new resource that we're adding into the game that's going to be kind of replacing a currently existing resource. And we don't necessarily need to go into all the details about it, but if we could briefly, young Russell, just kind of tell us a little bit about how the overview of this change is going to be with these turrets and this resource.
Yeah, of course. The biggest change for this is that we're going to be adding a new resource to the game called Aridium. This will be your base resource. So if anything involved in upgrading buildings, we're going to be looking at converting it to being used in bastions as well. So anything involved in base defense will be Aridium. We'll be having new bases on the world map that you can farm Aridium at, and we'll have plenty available, so you won't be at a loss for that. So
this is going to
yeah.
replace like cores and like the those lab requirements, as well as like Gen 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of having like 3 or 4 different resources to manage, we're kind of converting it all into one resource. And instead of having multiple bases on the map to hit, like the advanced materials bases and the bastion bases, it's just going to be one material that you need to get now. Only one material that you need to earn on the map. That's going to be kind of used across the board with this new system.
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And just so you guys know, that when Aridium bases are launched, from when the command center goes live on September 11th to the end of September, we're going to have those bases on the map every day. So where it's most crucial, where people are trying to upgrade everything as fast as they can with all the new stuff that's coming out, we're going to make sure that, for the back half of September, that there is going to be plenty of available time for you to get those resources, and they're going to be all over the map the entire rest of the month. So, and then after that, we're going to be going to more of a kind of a traditional cadence. But just want to make sure you guys know that they're going to be very readily available once CC21 comes out. All right, so we've done a lot over the last few months with Fairplay. That's been a big topic that we've been focusing on. We've been putting a lot of our time into that. Even before these last couple of months, we've been putting a lot of effort into it. And I know that, Fixer, you wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about the history of what we've been doing, what we've done so far, and still some of the things that we're working on, because we're not done yet. We still have more that we want to do.
Exactly.
So I want to, turn it over to you on that.
Sure. Yeah. History. When I first joined Kixeye, I actually did a search on War Commander because, you're going for a new job and you want to know a little bit about the product and things that they do. And hilariously, the first Google response was how to cheat in War Commander, which it's been a number of years, so that's not super surprising. At the time, the game was rather client authoritative, as we call it. And over the years, we've cleared a lot of those things out. But it's also a bit of an arms race between the people that profit off of cheating, and they've explored more ways to cheat and exploit. So we've continued that arms race, and we will continue it.
Yeah. Well, and
that's has something in the background. I might have to go and just murder for a minute, but we'll try and ignore that.
I have a dog who is very excited to be on the show. So yes, I do apologize for him. Yeah. Well, okay, so yeah, it's we've had a history with it. And it is a kind of a game of whack-a-mole, but we're getting ahead of it in a way recently that we haven't really done before. So what are the things that we've been doing over the last couple of months that we've been focusing on?
So this time we did something a little different than the previous times. Before, we would look at reports that we would get, internal metrics on cheating, and look at things that damaged the product and would say, let's fix those things. In this case, we did something different by asking players to tell us where the problems were. And we got a large list of things. We ranked that list by importance to the player base, and then ranked that list by what could we reasonably accomplish within the time we were able to dedicate to it. We didn't get everything we wanted, but our focus was the main thing. Try to get player-facing fair play cheating and exploits corrected. And that's also where we changed our focus, or changed our metric a little bit. Instead of just trying to fix it all and say, your cheater's banned, you've been exploiting, you're banned, we wanted to try and address it in a bit more of a holistic way. Looking at it to say, is this something that actually should have been a feature in the game in the first place? Mm-hmm. And we're going to continue to try to do that, where when we see something that players are trying to do, we need to look at it is this actually unhealthy for the game, or is it only unhealthy because only some people get to do it?
Like the additional ability to spread out your units,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
And some of the macro actions on the world map that players were doing has now allowed us to add the attack a base without joining the battle. Building repairs, where there were scripts to allow for exploiting some of the cheaper ways to replace buildings. We've managed to now change it so that the entire base is significantly cheaper. Those kinds of things where instead of just saying, how do we stop this or prevent it or ban people that do it, but how do we fold this into the game in a healthy way?
Yeah. Now, there are some things that we still have on our list that we haven't been able to get to.
Yes, definitely. The biggest one
Yeah.
is stealth units. That one turned into a giant nested mess spread across the entire code base. We do have some plans about how we might address it, but it's not a simple fix. So that one's going to take more time. It is something that we're going to continue to work on, but we didn't get it in the initial round of fixes.
Right. And there's also, I mean, a plenty of other things too that we want to rebalance in the future as well. Like, because we're not looking at fair play as just exploits and things like that. We're looking at it as like, is the game fair? So like, what are some other things that we're looking at like rebalancing later on in the future?
One of the ones is around the way platoon repairs are accomplished. Right now, there are some minor exploits around that, and they mostly hurt the game itself, not the other players. But the fact that players feel the need to pursue those exploits and the way repairs are punished at the ends of battles, that's something that we're looking at. I can't get into a lot of details right now because we haven't made decisions, but it is something that we are definitely looking at. The fact that repairs in general don't always seem very fair.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and that's it's we're always wanting. We're in a state right now where we really want to start thinking about these old mechanics and like, are they really? Who are they serving? And yeah, I think it's stuff that's on our mind, stuff that we're working on. And when it comes to the exploits that are still out there, that is still currently exist, if you're on Discord, feel free to DM me if you have any actual information about how it's done. I always pass that stuff along to the game teams, and a lot of times that has led us to being able to fix some of those things from happening. So if you are hearing this and you know how some of these things are done, I mean, I'll keep you anonymous from the community. You're safe. You're safe in my dungeon. That sounds weird. I don't know if I should have said that. Huh? Weird. All right, but you're still safe. And you can pass me the information, and I'll make sure that our engineers get it and try to take a look at it. So yeah, we can try to just speed up the process of making things a little bit more fair.
I understand. I also recently learned through some of my extracurricular reading that dungeons have safe rooms.
Yes. Just so you know, Fixer and I are big Dungeon Crawler Carl fans. And we take up a lot of our meetings of the entire team, just he and I talking about it. So if you haven't read that series, go ahead and read that series. It's great. So one of the biggest concerns that we see from the community is how hard it is to get caught up and really engage in the current events. Feeling like if you take a break, you're going to be too far behind, or if you come back to the game, there's just too much stuff. We've made some changes already to address that with like the supply depot bases, but there's a lot more that we're thinking about and working on. So I definitely want to give Russell a chance to kind of talk about from a design angle some of the things that we're thinking about.
Thank you. So we added the supply depots recently, and that was our first step in creating a larger ladder to get players from being new or coming back after a while and getting them up to, the metagame, the most recent stuff, and having them be able to able to play and have viable platoons and all that. We're in the late planning stages of an event redesign that should alleviate a lot of the barrier to entry issues. I can't say too much about it because we're still finalizing some of the parts of it, but in addition to creating more of a ramp that players can use to get quote unquote caught up with, we are also hoping to expand the types of things players can do in an event. I know that our events have been shrinking a bit over the past few years and simplified in a way, and so we're hoping to not obviously not go back to having 16 separate bases they have to go through again, but
even back in the day there was like north of 60, 80 bases sometimes in an event. Yeah.
So we're gonna be offering some more types of gameplay. Nothing that crazy, but we'll hopefully be offering some more types of gameplay. So if you get bored of doing one set, there should be another thing that you can do in the meantime, and then hop back around. More of like a theme park that you can attend to, as opposed to a movie you can watch.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, because it's important to note, while we can't go into a lot of details yet because we're still finalizing things, the idea is to have a couple different paths that people can go in, and they're not stuck to those paths through the entire event. They might be able to spend some time on one ride, and then once they've got what they need from that ride, they can go to another ride, and experience the event in different ways. So try to provide a lot of different opportunities for people to get caught up, but also participate, and then also excel. So a lot of different ways to do that. Anything you want to add to that, Fixer?
Just a small amount. We do have a fairly comprehensive set of changes that we're designing for the beginning of the game, but also for what I like to call the missing middle of the game. However, we don't have a lot we can talk about right now. We're still in a fairly high level planning for those. And a lot of our focus for extra features beyond the command center itself is on getting a release on Steam, which we can talk about in a little bit later.
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing too that I get a lot of questions about over the last couple of months. So yeah, people are definitely looking for an update. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Before we get to that though, because that is kind of a what's in the future of War Commander kind of discussion. The immediate future is coming up, which is October, which means Nightmare, which is probably our most popular time of the year for the game. Zombies, monsters, all that kind of fun stuff. So, young Russell, I know everything that's going on for this upcoming Nightmare. We're actually kind of making October the entire month of Nightmare almost in some ways. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening this year with Nightmare?
Absolutely. So this year we decided to not do any Nightmare. I'm just kidding.
It's called Daydream now. It's going to be very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. In the past, for our last few years, we've been using our weapon tech system of solar weapons versus thorium armor, and so we've been tied to using certain rogue factions in our main events. This year, with the field bonus system, it really frees us up to use any enemy in our main event bases. So we are going to start the month off with a zombie main event, which is something we haven't seen in a long time. An actual Nightmare main event, which I'm really excited for, because we can tell a bigger Nightmare story than just having it as a sub event. So we're going to start with that. We're going to go from that into an undead strike ups. So zombies again for strike ups. We're going to go into a spooky sector breach with some zombie flavor thrown into the bases. And we're going to end it all on October 31st with a scary skirmish. Nice. Throughout all of that month, you'll also be unlocking and upgrading a new unique unit. I won't say too much about him yet, so stay tuned for details, but I'm really excited for this, and it should be something that it's the barrier to acquire is very low, and we have some really cool tech we're applying to it. So,
and I just want to remind everybody too, because this does tend to happen every year, where a unit that is exclusive to October's Nightmare season is very popular. And we do say at the beginning that this is an exclusive to Nightmare unit, but then I hear for all year, when are we going to be able to get this unit again? So I just want to make sure everybody, goes into this knowing, again, this is going to be an October exclusive unit. So don't sleep on it. You're definitely going to want to get it. It's got really cool mechanic in it that we haven't really used before. And yeah, you're not going to want to miss out on it. But yes, remember, October exclusive unit. Don't sleep on it. Don't wait until November and go, I want that now. Get it in October. You need to get it in October. All right. I just want to make sure nobody said I didn't tell them. Okay. So, well, all right. So we got that coming up in the immediate future, but then we have what is on the horizon. And you mentioned Fixer Steam. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, as you've said, a lot of people have been asking about Steam. How's it going? When's it coming? What's that mean? What is Steam? I don't think that last one was actually ever asked. I think people did. The short answer is it's going pretty well. We have an internal plan for how we're going to address this. It's a big project, but we have a plan. However, we call it the new platform release since we actually haven't completely nailed down that it's going to be Steam. It might be Epic Games. It might be some other platform that becomes big in the meantime. Realistically, it's probably going to be Steam to start with, but we call it internally the new platform release. The slightly longer answer is that we're currently in our prototyping phase. The way we do projects is we have high-level planning, what we call a brief. We take that brief, we knock it out and say, this is the thing that tells us that we're all on the same page, we know what we're going to make. And then from that becomes a spec, which is all of the details that say exactly what our goals are. What is the thing that we're going to make going to do? And then from the spec becomes the plan, the technical plan, the design plan, any other supplementary documents that have to happen in order to make that thing be real. We're still in between the brief and spec phase where we're prototyping out the approach we're going to take. And that's needed because we have a Flash game originally. It was a game on the web, on Facebook. And then it became an HTML5 game. But it still was always a web game. And it's a lot of data that the game makes some very large assumptions about. How do you log in? How do you get that data? Where does the data come from? When is it available? All that other kind of stuff. And we're not always in control of the eventual delivery of that data because we are beholden to the fact that it is a browser-based game, and therefore your browser will cache some of that data. Right. Well, we have to break all of those assumptions. We have to make a game that will be a desktop application, and we have to answer those questions about where does the data come from? How do we serve it to players? How do we update it when we need to for players? And all of those other types of things. And that's where we solidly are right now, is answering those questions. How do we get a game out there that we don't have to rebuild from scratch, but gives everybody the data they need without having to download it every time and work correctly?
Yeah, I mean, not to mention the fact that it's a 13-year-old game, so technology has changed quite a bit from when it was written to how it is now. And that it's, you kind of mentioned too, like there's a massive amount this game is. I mean, this game has grown so much over its 13 years that it's not a simple just like copy and paste.
It's definitely not. And
yeah.
We do have some advantages. There are a lot of people over the years that have had to answer this question of how do I take a web application and turn it into a desktop application? And there are wrappers that you can stuff an app into. Electron is one of those for anyone who's technically minded and is probably already screaming at me, just use Electron.
Right.
We might, but it might be the wrong choice. And that's what we're trying to answer.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think that's the update that people are going to be happy to hear, that we're still working on it, that we're in the planning phase, that we're trying to figure it out.
We are in the planning phase, but the other piece of it that I should mention is that we're aiming to have an internal test launch by the end of the year.
Nice.
Which means that our internal team will be able to download something from Steam that hopefully will log in, not nuke their base, and then allow them to be able to play in some capacity. It will be broken as all get out, completely broken in many ways, but that will be the tech test.
Yeah. And one thing, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say past that, we're going to try to open it up to players. I don't know when exactly, but the intent is to have the ability for players to help us beta test in the new year. And we will have a way for players to opt into that. So keep an eye on Discord, keep an eye on to Drake's Dungeon and other announcements we may make.
Yeah, and just to also circle back to something that was mentioned months ago when we first started talking about it, we will not be getting rid of the browser version, even if we do go to Steam. We will just be having an additional platform that you'll be able to play on. So
We will not be getting rid of the browser version, correct.
Yeah.
However, we may have some changes to the Facebook version, and that is something that unfortunately is out of our control.
Right.
Facebook has made it absolutely clear that by September of 2026, their web games will be sunset.
Right.
So depending on how we approach this and what changes we're able to make, we may be able to stay on the Facebook platform, or we might not. And that is part of the reason why we've been trying to push people over to our Kickside.com platform to play the game there.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, as you guys probably already know, there's exclusive deals on Kickside.com. You actually get a little bit more gold out of your gold bundles if you play on Kickside.com. We have been doing this intentionally because A, it's our platform, which is nice. But B, we are able to control a bit more of the game, the outcome of than we can with things like Facebook. So if you aren't already playing on Kickside.com, if you're a Facebook player, just go to the button on Kickside.com that you can log in with Facebook and just put in the same credentials that you would use to log into Facebook. And that should sync your account to Kickside.com. If there's any issues, of course, submit a ticket to support and they'll be happy to help sort it out. But yeah, we definitely, if you're not playing on Kickside.com, it's going to be better for you. There's cooler stuff on there for you. But there is that possibility that Facebook might not be an option in the future, which is fine. I mean, we've had a great home there for 14 years and we'll be sad to part ways. That's the case. But we'll always have the Kickside.com one as long as the game is active. So.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Facebook has given plenty of notice for this. We have over a year at this point. So we're not worried that we will not be able to meet that deadline, but this is part of the reason why we're looking into things like Steam and desktop, as well as just being able to try and find a more convenient place for people to play than having to log into Facebook.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention for the future too, and the current, and this is really just to pat myself and young Russell on the back here, is together we have been trying to flesh out a lot of the story elements of the game. Like we started with Skirmish by making sure that there's a cool story for all the heroes that we introduce. And we have some videos that we're now putting out that are more narrative focused videos. We just put up the Orpheus one on social media this last week. So check it out. If you're not on any of the social medias, follow us on there. But we have plans too for potentially taking some other events and adding in some story elements that weren't really there before. Like there's a lot of side characters that have never really been fleshed out before. And so there's some ideas that young Russell and I have been throwing out to make sure that we can get a little bit more, talk about the relationships between different characters, have like these nice little fun side stories away from the main story that happens in the main event. So if you're enjoying the story stuff, awesome. We're glad. We've been putting a lot of work into it. There is likely going to be more coming. If you haven't been checking out the story stuff, please do. We've been having a lot of fun with it. We plan out pretty far in advance, like the direction that we want to see the story go. And we have a lot of fun playing around with the newer characters and see where that goes. So check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. All right. We've talked about a lot of things, guys. I think we got just about everything that people are going to want to know about. I gave you a lot of questions to answer going into this because it's been a while since we've had one of these. So if there's any major questions that I missed, which I'm sure there are, please let me know. So the next time we do one of our podcasts or next time we do one of our designer diaries, we can make sure we get that topic covered as well. So this is a long episode. It's going to be like 40 minutes or so. So hopefully there's plenty of stuff for you guys to chew on. Any last things from Russell or Fixer that you guys want to add in?
Just stay tuned because we're always coming up with new stuff and finding new ways to make things interesting. Obviously, coming up with novel concepts on a 12-year-old game, or probably more than that now, is always a challenge. But we have lots of cool ideas coming up. So stay tuned.
Right. Cool. Anything from you, Fixer?
Nothing else to add right now. I've enjoyed being on this one. We've answered a lot of questions, and I look forward to trying and answer more on a future episode.
Well, a lot of these new features that we talked about are going to be coming out with the Command Center 21 update, available September 11th. Just stay tuned to that, and we look forward to you guys getting a chance to play around with it. Other than that, Russell, Fixer, thank you for your time. I know you guys are crazy busy getting this Command Center thing out the door, so I appreciate it. I'm sure the players appreciate the update. So hope you guys have a great day. Hope all you players out there have a great day. And until next time, we are out. Bye.
See ya.